The unknown threat. The galaxy was in turmoil. The Xi Empire, an alien race known for their ruthlessness and advanced technology, had been on a rampage for centuries, conquering planet after planet. Their fleet was vast, their power unimaginable. They destroyed everything in their path, leaving nothing but ruins behind. No species had ever dared to challenge them, and no one had managed to stand against their mighty warships. Earth had always been a peaceful planet, unaware of the horrors lurking in the dark corners of the universe. Humans had only just begun to venture into space, sending out probes to distant stars, seeking knowledge and understanding. They had no idea that their world would soon be in the sights of an unstoppable force. The first signs of the Xi threat came in the form of strange signals. Scientists at Earth's top space observatories began picking up unusual transmissions from the far reaches of space. At first, they thought it was just a glitch, a random anomaly in the radio waves. But as the signals grew more frequent and more structured, they realized something was wrong. It was a message, but the language was not one they could understand. Still, there was a sense of urgency in the transmission. Desperate, Earth's leaders reached out to their brightest minds, engineers, linguists, and military strategists, hoping they could decode the message. But it was too late. Before they could decipher its meaning, the first alien ship appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. The sight of it was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. It was a massive warship, larger than anything Earth had ever seen. The ship's design was sleek and angular, its dark surface gleaming with unknown materials that seemed to absorb light. Its energy readings were off the charts. The ship's sheer size and power dwarfed any human-made vessel. As the alien ship neared Earth, Earth's military was on high alert. They had no idea who these invaders were or what they wanted. Panic began to spread through the ranks as commanders scrambled to make sense of the situation. Earth's defenses were nothing compared to the might of the approaching ship. It was clear that a confrontation was inevitable. Yet, the aliens did not attack immediately. They merely hovered in Earth's orbit, watching. The humans on the ground could only guess what their intentions were. What did they want from Earth? Was this the beginning of an invasion? Or was it simply a warning? While Earth's leaders were in a state of chaos, one group of humans was already thinking ahead. In secret, deep underground, a team of engineers and scientists were working on a top-secret project that could change everything. The project was so secretive that even the highest-ranking military officials were unaware of its existence. It was a new kind of weapon, one that could potentially turn the tide in any battle. But it was still in its testing phase, and no one knew if it would even work. The project had been in development for years, but until now, it had been nothing more than a concept. Earth's scientists had discovered a way to harness energy far beyond anything the world had ever seen. They had designed a warship, codenamed Titan, that would utilize this new energy source, making it the most powerful weapon ever created. The ship was designed not only to defend Earth, but to strike back against any force that threatened the planet. But despite its promise, the ship was still unfinished. As the alien ship continued to orbit, Earth's military prepared for the worst. They sent their best pilots and soldiers to intercept the alien vessel, but deep down, they knew they were outmatched. The Xi Empire had destroyed countless civilizations before, and there was no reason to believe they would show mercy to Earth. The alien ship remained silent, offering no explanation for its presence, no message to the humans below. The waiting was excruciating. Each day that passed brought more uncertainty. Was this the end of Earth's peace? Were the aliens simply biding their time, preparing for a full-scale attack? The human military forces were on edge, and the people of Earth had no idea what to expect next. In the heart of the secret facility, the team working on the Titan ship had no time to lose. They knew that Earth's survival depended on the success of their project. They worked day and night, pushing the limits of science and technology to complete the ship. They were creating something far beyond the capabilities of any military force on Earth, but even they didn't know if it would be enough. Every test they ran on the Titan revealed new challenges, new obstacles they had to overcome. The power cores were unstable. The weapons systems had yet to be properly calibrated, and the crew needed extensive training. But time was running out. The alien ship was getting closer, and it wouldn't be long before the humans would have no choice but to face the invaders. The world held its breath. The tension in the air was palpable. And as the alien ship continued its silent vigil, one question echoed in the minds of everyone on Earth. Could humanity survive this unknown threat? Would they be able to rise above their fears and find a way to protect their world from this new, terrifying enemy? But deep within that underground facility, as the Titan systems came online for the first time, a spark of hope flickered. For the first time in history, humanity had something that could challenge the greatest threat the universe had ever known. The warship was ready, and Earth was about to find out if it was enough. The secret weapon. The moment the Titan systems came online, there was an electric charge in the air. Inside the secret underground facility, the hum of advanced machinery filled the room as engineers and scientists gathered around, anxiously watching the monitors. The ship was no longer just an idea. It was now a reality, ready for its first test. But there was no time to waste. The HFY ship was still orbiting Earth, waiting. Earth's last hope was to get the Titan up and running, no matter the cost. For years, the Titan had been a top-secret project, hidden from the eyes of the world. Only a small group of engineers and military leaders knew of its existence. The government had kept it under wraps, believing that Earth's survival might one day depend on this very ship. But now, with the alien fleet growing closer by the day, the truth could no longer be hidden. Inside the main control room of the Titan, Commander David Archer stood at the helm, a seasoned military officer who had been selected to lead the mission. His face was grim, but his resolve was unshakable. Archer had fought in countless battles before, but nothing like this. He understood what was at stake. This wasn't just another fight for land or power. It was the survival of humanity itself. The crew of the Titan was small, handpicked from the best of the best. Engineers, pilots, soldiers, each one highly trained, each one carrying the weight of Earth's future on their shoulders. But despite their training, none of them could truly know what they were up against. No one could have prepared for the power of the HFY Empire. As Archer walked to the command deck, the ship's artificial intelligence, known as EVE, Enhanced Vessel Entity, greeted him with a soft, melodic voice. "Commander Archer, all systems are online and functioning within expected parameters," EVE reported. "Titan is ready for deployment." Archer nodded, though a sense of unease washed over him. The Titan was powerful, yes, but was it enough to face the might of the alien invaders? There was no second chance. The warship had to work. "Prepare the crew," Archer ordered, his voice steady despite the pressure mounting in his chest. "We leave in 5 minutes." In the cockpit, Pilot Lieutenant Sarah Kingston double-checked her controls. The Titan's engines were unlike any she had ever seen. They thrummed with raw energy, ready to propel the ship at speeds faster than any human had ever experienced. The weapons systems were another story. The ship was equipped with cutting-edge energy cannons, missile systems, and shields that were capable of withstanding an onslaught from the most advanced alien ships. But even that wasn't enough. The Titan's most powerful weapon was something else entirely, a core that harnessed energy from a newly discovered element, a resource that could unleash catastrophic power. As Archer took his seat, he saw the massive monitor in front of him, showing Earth's military command center. The live feed was a chaotic mix of satellite images and intercepted communications. The HFY ship remained stationary, watching. They hadn't fired a single shot, but that didn't mean they were waiting for something. They were watching Earth's response. They were calculating. The crew remained silent as the Titan lifted off from the underground facility, its massive engines rumbling beneath them. For a moment, there was only the sound of the ship's engines and the soft beeping of monitors. But beneath that calm exterior, everyone knew this was the calm before the storm. As the Titan soared into the sky, Commander Archer turned to his crew. "Remember, our mission is not only to defend Earth, but to show the universe that humanity is not to be underestimated. We will strike first, and we will strike hard." The ship broke through the atmosphere and entered space, the vast blackness stretching out before them. The view was breathtaking, but Archer couldn't afford to be distracted. They were moving into uncharted territory, facing an enemy whose strength was unmatched. They couldn't afford mistakes. The Titan's powerful engines propelled them toward the alien ship, and soon the HFY warship loomed in front of them. It was massive, twice the size of Earth's largest ships. It was an imposing sight, and for a moment, Archer questioned the wisdom of their mission. But there was no turning back now. "We're in range," Lieutenant Kingston reported, her voice tight with concentration. "The enemy ship is locking onto us. I've never seen anything like this before." Archer looked at the data on his screen. The HFY ship was preparing its weapons. It was clear that they had no idea what the Titan was capable of. The humans had kept their weapon a secret for too long, and now it was time to reveal it. The Titan wasn't just any ship. It was Earth's final stand. "Activate the core," Archer ordered. "Let's show them what humanity is made of." The ship's energy core hummed to life, a soft glow filling the cockpit as the power surged through the vessel. The ship's weapon systems powered up, and a sense of overwhelming strength washed over the crew. The Titan was ready. The alien ship fired first, its energy beams slicing through the emptiness of space, aimed directly at the Titan. But the Titan's shields activated just in time, absorbing the blast with ease. Archer's eyes narrowed as he watched the display. The HFY had underestimated them. This was just the beginning. "Fire," he commanded. The Titan unleashed its first salvo, a barrage of energy beams and missiles that streaked toward the HFY ship at unimaginable speeds. The alien vessel attempted to retaliate, but the Titan was faster. The beams hit their target, and the HFY ship's outer hull buckled under the impact. It wasn't enough to destroy the ship, but the attack had made one thing clear. The Titan was a force to be reckoned with. The HFY ship began to retreat, but it was too late. The humans had shown them what they could do. Commander Archer smiled grimly as he watched the alien ship start to flee. "We've made our mark. Now let's finish this." The battle for Earth had only just begun, and the Titan was leading the charge. But as Archer looked out at the stars, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the first of many battles to come. In this part, the Titan is revealed in full force, with Earth's military unleashing a powerful, unexpected weapon. The aliens are left in shock, but the battle is far from over, and the true test of the Titan's power is just beginning. The first victory. The HFY warship was retreating, its hull scorched by the Titan's powerful strikes. But Archer knew this victory was only temporary. The alien fleet was vast. This warship was just one among many. And although the Titan had proven its power, the alien invaders would soon regroup and retaliate. The battle was far from over, but for the first time in a long while, humanity had a fighting chance. Commander Archer sat in the command seat, staring at the glowing screens in front of him, his mind racing. The Titan had done what no one thought possible, defeating an enemy so technologically advanced that their mere presence had struck fear into the hearts of Earth's defenders. But this was only the beginning. "Commander, we've broken their communication lines," Lieutenant Kingston reported, her voice calm but tinged with excitement. "The HFY are scrambling. They didn't expect us to hit them this hard. Their fleet is retreating, but they're preparing for another strike." Archer nodded slowly, taking in the data. "We're not done yet," he said, his voice low but determined. "We need to push them while they're off balance. If we give them time to regroup, we might lose our advantage. But even as he spoke, Archer knew that the Titan was not invincible. The ship was powerful, but it wasn't indestructible. And despite its cutting-edge technology, it had limitations. The energy core that powered the ship was unlike anything humanity had ever seen, but it wasn't limitless. Each blast, each strike drained the core, and the Titan's shields, though impressive, could only take so much damage. EVE, how long until we need to recharge the core? Archer asked, turning to the ship's artificial intelligence for an answer. Approximately 30 minutes, Commander, EVE responded, her voice steady. However, I recommend we take evasive maneuvers if we intend to continue combat. Prolonged use of the core may compromise long-term functionality. Archer didn't need to be told twice. He understood the stakes. The Titan had a window of opportunity, but it wasn't an endless one. They had to move quickly. Set course for the HFY command fleet, Archer ordered. We'll hit them before they can fully regroup. Kingston, prepare the crew. We're going in for the kill. The Titan's engines roared to life once again, and the warship shot forward at breakneck speed, heading straight toward the heart of the enemy fleet. The crew worked in perfect unison, their movements swift and precise as they prepared for the next stage of the battle. As they approached the enemy command ship, Archer couldn't help but feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a chance to show that HFY Empire that humanity wasn't a race to be conquered. They were a force to be reckoned with, and Archer would see to it that they proved that point, no matter the cost. All systems online, Kingston said, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. Titan is ready for the next assault. Archer turned to EVE once more. Target the command ship's weak points. We need to disable their fleet coordination. Without their leadership, the rest of their forces will scatter. Understood, EVE replied, her voice soft but confident. Engaging target. The Titan's weapons powered up again, its energy core glowing brightly as it prepared to unleash another devastating barrage. This time, the HFY weren't retreating. They were fighting back with everything they had. Their weapons fired in rapid succession, energy beams, and missiles streaking toward the Titan. But the human warship was faster, more agile. The Titan's shields absorbed the blows, and its weapons fired back with pinpoint accuracy. The first strike hit the HFY command ship directly. It wasn't enough to destroy the massive vessel, but the impact was enough to send shockwaves through its hull. The alien ship faltered, its systems temporarily offline as sparks flew from its damaged structure. But it didn't surrender. Instead, it retaliated with a fury that left no doubt in anyone's mind that the HFY were not used to losing. Incoming enemy fire, Kingston shouted as the command ship fired back, its beams slashing through space. The Titan's shields flared, flickering under the force of the blasts. Hold steady, Archer barked. Keep firing. The Titan's weapons responded in kind. Energy beams shot across the void, slamming into the HFY ship again and again. The alien vessel's shields flickered, then cracked under the relentless assault. Archer could see the damage mounting. The command ship was weakening, but it wasn't done yet. Another strike from the HFY ship hit the Titan's port side. And for a moment, the entire ship shuddered. The lights dimmed, and a loud alarm echoed throughout the command deck. We've lost power to the port shields, EVE reported. Damage to outer hull is significant, but core integrity remains stable. Can you reroute power? Archer asked, his eyes scanning the control panels. Rerouting now, EVE responded. Shields restored, but power reserves are at 70%. The battle raged on, each side exchanging blows with unrelenting force. The HFY were fierce, but the Titan was relentless. As the enemy command ship's shields failed completely, Archer saw his opportunity. Now, Kingston, he shouted. Take them out. With one final push, Kingston aimed the Titan's most powerful weapon directly at the heart of the HFY command ship. The ship's energy core flared brightly, a concentrated beam of power firing straight into the alien vessel. The beam hit its mark. The HFY ship exploded in a brilliant flash, sending debris scattering in all directions. The remnants of the command ship drifted through space, shattered and broken. For a moment, there was silence. The crew of the Titan was still, as though in disbelief at what they had just achieved. The HFY fleet was leaderless, their coordination in disarray. Archer allowed himself a brief moment of victory before turning his attention back to the task at hand. "We've done it," he said quietly, "but we're not done yet. Prepare for the next phase of the battle. Earth's fight for survival is just beginning." As the Titan sailed through the remains of the enemy fleet, the crew knew that they had only scratched the surface of what was to come. The HFY were powerful, but now they had seen what humanity was capable of. The Titan was just the beginning of Earth's resistance, and no matter how long it took, Earth would stand tall, ready to face whatever came next. The dark counterattack. The Titan had achieved its first victory, but it had not gone unnoticed. Deep in the cold expanse of space, the HFY Empire watched, analyzed, and waited. Archer knew that his success would not go unpunished, and that the battle ahead would be far more dangerous. As the crew celebrated their hard-fought victory, a shadow loomed larger and larger on the horizon. The command deck was alive with activity. The ship had taken some damage, but nothing that couldn't be repaired. Yet, Archer could sense that something wasn't right. The usual banter among the crew had faded into tense silence. Their victory had been monumental, but the calm before the storm felt too quiet. "EVE, any sign of the HFY fleet?" Archer asked, his voice tight with suspicion. Scanning the surrounding space, EVE replied, her voice as calm and methodical as ever. "There are no immediate threats detected, Commander. However, I am picking up unusual energy readings from a nearby sector." "Unusual energy readings," Kingston repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Like a trap?" "Possibly," Archer murmured, eyeing the data on the screen. "Prepare the ship for evasive action. I have a bad feeling about this." As the Titan moved into the sector, the tension on the command deck grew. Archer stood at the front of the room, his eyes fixed on the view screen. His heart raced as he saw the first signs of movement, a subtle ripple in the fabric of space that sent a shiver down his spine. "They're here," Archer muttered, his instincts flaring. The HFY had made their move, and it was a dangerous one. Suddenly, the ship shook violently, throwing everyone off balance. Red lights flashed across the command deck as alarms blared, filling the air with a sense of urgency. The Titan's shields flared to life, barely holding off the first barrage of enemy fire. "What the hell was that?" Kingston shouted, trying to regain control of her console. EVE's voice cut through the chaos. "Commander, we've been hit by an EMP blast. Our shields are down by 30%, and systems are temporarily offline." "EMP?" Archer spat, frustration and fear coursing through him. How could they know we'd be here? EVE paused for a moment. "I'm analyzing the data now, Commander. It appears the HFY deployed a new weapon, an EMP device capable of disabling our shields and weapon systems. The technology is unlike anything we've encountered before." "Great," Kingston muttered under her breath. "Just what we needed." But Archer wasn't discouraged. "EVE, can you stabilize the core? We need our weapons back online, now." "I'm rerouting power," EVE responded. "It will take approximately 5 minutes to fully restore our systems." 5 minutes. Archer looked out at the battlefield, where the HFY ships were closing in fast. "We don't have 5 minutes." As the alien fleet descended on them, Archer knew they were outmatched in terms of firepower and technology. Their best chance was to outsmart the enemy and use their own strengths against them. He couldn't afford to wait and hope for a miracle. "Kingston, Set a course for the XI Rathi's lead ship, Archer ordered. We'll take it down first. Disable their command vessel, and the rest of the fleet will fall apart. You're crazy, Kingston said, disbelief creeping into her voice. They'll tear us apart before we even get close. We don't have a choice, Archer shot back. If we sit here, we're dead. We've got one shot, and we're going to take it. The Titan surged forward, engines roaring to life as it pushed toward the heart of the enemy fleet. The XI Rathi ships continued to bombard them with heavy fire, but their weapons were slower, less precise than before. The EMP blast had left them scrambling to target the Titan effectively. Archer could feel the tension rise with every passing moment. They were running out of time, and their position was becoming increasingly desperate. Commander, EVE's voice was calm, even in the face of danger. The XI Rathi lead ship is heavily armored. Our standard weapons won't be sufficient to penetrate its hull. Then we'll have to find another way, Archer said, eyes scanning the ship's systems for an opening. Can we use their EMP weapon against them? I'll attempt to reroute the energy from their weapon into our targeting systems, EVE said, her tone steady and unshaken. It's a risky maneuver, but it may give us the edge we need. Do it, Archer ordered, his voice firm. Whatever it takes. The Titan closed in on the XI Rathi lead ship, the alien warship now a massive presence on the view screen. Archer's heart pounded in his chest as Kingston maneuvered the Titan with deadly precision, weaving through enemy fire. Ready, Commander, Kingston said, gripping the console tightly. On your mark. Now, Archer barked. In an instant, the Titan's weapons locked onto the XI Rathi lead ship. The ship's targeting systems had reconfigured, allowing the crew to channel the alien energy back at them. The Titan fired with pinpoint accuracy, launching a concentrated burst of energy directly at the heart of the enemy ship. The enemy ship's shields flickered, then failed. As the energy hit, a massive explosion ripped through the XI Rathi vessel's core, sending debris scattering in all directions. The lead ship was no more. Archer let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. For a moment, there was silence. We did it, Kingston said, a faint grin tugging at her lips. The lead ship is down. But Archer's relief was short-lived. The rest of the XI Rathi fleet had already regrouped, and they were coming in fast, angrier than ever. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, Archer felt something stir within him. Hope. If they could pull off that strike once, they could do it again. Now, Archer said, his eyes narrowing, let's finish what we started. The heart of the storm. The explosion of the lead XI Rathi ship sent shockwaves through the remaining fleet, but it was only a temporary victory. Archer and his crew had shown that XI Rathi that humans were a force to be reckoned with, but the battle was far from over. The remaining enemy ships were regrouping, and they were angrier, more determined than ever to destroy the Titan and its crew. Commander, EVE's voice came through the comms, cool and analytical. As always, the XI Rathi are retreating, but they are not retreating in fear. They are coordinating a counterstrike. Archer's eyes narrowed. A counterstrike. Yes, EVE confirmed. They're combining their fleets into one large unit, preparing for a final assault. They intend to overwhelm us with sheer numbers. How long until they can strike? Archer asked, pacing the deck, his mind racing through their options. Approximately 10 minutes, EVE replied. They've begun recharging their weapons. Their ships are accelerating toward us at maximum speed. We don't have 10 minutes, Archer muttered, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on him. Their hull was damaged, and their energy reserves were depleted from the previous EMP attack. The Titan was strong, but it wasn't invincible. Kingston, Archer said, turning toward the helm, get us into a position where we can strike first. If we can catch them off guard, we might have a chance. Yes, Commander, Kingston replied, her voice steely. She didn't hesitate. immediately taking control of the helm, the ship's engines roaring to life as they began to move. Archer watched the screen closely as the HFY Sci-Fi fleet drew closer. He could see the enemy ships forming a tight formation, their weapons charging for the final assault. The entire fleet was a coordinated mass, like a wild animal preparing to strike. "This is it," Archer muttered. "We can't wait for them to attack. We need to take the initiative." "Commander, our weapons are still down," Kingston said, glancing over her shoulder. "We can't match their firepower without our full arsenal." Archer was silent for a moment. Their strength lay in the Titan's ability to outmaneuver the enemy, but they also relied on surprise and tactical superiority. Without their weapons, they were vulnerable. However, there was one thing the Titan had in its favor: its speed. The HFY Sci-Fi ships were powerful, but they weren't as agile. "Prepare for a risky maneuver," Archer said, his voice resolute. "EVE, can we use the Titan's engines as a weapon? Can we overload them, create a burst of thrust to push us through the HFY Sci-Fi fleet?" EVE's voice responded with an almost curious tone. "Commander, that is an unconventional strategy, but theoretically, yes. By overloading the engines, we could create a shockwave powerful enough to damage the enemy ships in close proximity. However, it would be risky. The Titan could suffer permanent damage, and we would only have one chance to execute it." "One chance is all we need," Archer said, his eyes focused. "Do it." There was a brief moment of silence before EVE replied. "Understood, Commander. Initiating engine overload sequence." Archer felt the ship lurch beneath him as the Titan's engines began to hum with intensity. He could feel the tension in the air, the crew bracing for what would surely be the most dangerous moment of their lives. The HFY Sci-Fi fleet, meanwhile, continued to charge forward, unaware of the trap they were walking into. "Now," Archer shouted, and Kingston slammed her hand down on the console. The Titan surged forward, the engines flaring with an incredible burst of power. The shockwave tore through the HFY Sci-Fi formation, the powerful propulsion blast striking the nearest ships with devastating force. Some of the enemy vessels were knocked off course, their shields faltering, while others were torn apart by the force of the blast. The Titan shot through the heart of the HFY Sci-Fi fleet, like a blade cutting through the enemy's ranks. But it wasn't without cost. The Titan groaned in protest, its systems straining under the pressure. Archer could feel the ship rattling violently as they tore through the fleet, narrowly avoiding the debris from the destroyed HFY Sci-Fi ships. The overload had caused significant damage, and the ship was struggling to maintain its momentum. "Shields at 50%, EVE reported. Engines are at maximum capacity. We have limited maneuverability." "We're not out of it yet," Archer said, his jaw clenched. "Kingston, plot a course to the rear of their fleet. We need to get out of their kill zone." The Titan's speed had given them a brief advantage, but now they were in the midst of the wreckage of destroyed ships, and the remaining HFY Sci-Fi were closing in fast. Archer's mind raced, thinking of their next move. They had dealt a serious blow to the HFY Sci-Fi, but there were still enough enemy ships left to obliterate them if they weren't careful. Suddenly, the comms crackled to life. It was a strange transmission, one that Archer hadn't expected. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Vren of the HFY Sci-Fi fleet," the voice said, cold and calculating. "You have proven yourself capable of surviving, but this battle is not over. Surrender now, and we will spare your crew." Archer's heart skipped a beat. The HFY Sci-Fi were offering a truce. Was it a trick, or did they genuinely fear them now? "Surrender," Archer repeated, his voice low and filled with disbelief. "You're asking for our surrender after everything you've thrown at us?" "Yes," Admiral Vren replied, his tone icy. "You have done the impossible, but that is not enough. The war is over for you, human. You will surrender, or you will die." Archer stood still for a moment, considering the offer. The crew looked to him for guidance, each of them waiting for his decision. "We will not surrender," Archer said firmly, his eyes burning with resolve. "We are humanity, and we do not bow to threats. Prepare for the final strike." With that, Archer turned to Kingston. "Full speed ahead. We end this now." The final gamble. The Titan soared through the wreckage of the HFY fleet, the ship's systems blinking warning lights at every turn. Archer's grip tightened on the console as the strain of their earlier maneuver began to show. The ship was severely damaged, and there were still enemy ships hunting them like vultures circling a wounded prey. But Archer was not one to yield in the face of impossible odds. "Commander," Kingston's voice was strained, but steady. "We're losing propulsion power. The shockwave we created took a toll on the engines. We're down to 30% thrust, and we won't last long at this rate." Archer nodded, his mind racing. They couldn't outrun the HFY forever. They had to finish this now or be doomed to face them in a drawn-out battle they might not survive. "We need to find a way to take out their flagship," Archer said, his voice calm but determined. "That's the heart of their fleet. If we can bring it down, the rest of their forces will crumble." "Agreed," Kingston said, focusing on the tactical readouts. "There's a massive concentration of enemy ships around the flagship. It's well protected, but we might be able to slip through with what we have left. If we time it right, we can launch a strike that'll disable their command center." "How long do we have?" Archer asked, knowing every second counted. "We have 5 minutes before their reinforcements arrive. After that, we'll be completely surrounded," Kingston said grimly. Archer turned to EVE. "Can we make that strike, EVE? Do we have enough firepower left?" EVE's voice came through the comms, eerily calm. "The Titan's primary weapons are still offline, Commander. However, I can reroute power from the auxiliary systems to reinforce the remaining offensive capabilities. It will be enough for a one-time strike, but the ship will be left defenseless afterward." "Do it," Archer said without hesitation. "We either win here or we don't survive." EVE acknowledged his order, and the ship began to hum as power was rerouted. Archer felt the familiar shudder of the Titan, as if it too were preparing for its final battle. The crew exchanged looks, each of them knowing that what was coming next would determine their fate. The HFY flagship loomed ahead, a behemoth of armor and weaponry. Surrounding it were dozens of smaller ships, the remnants of the HFY fleet still hungry for revenge. Archer knew this was the only chance they would get. If they missed it, they would be sitting ducks. "Kingston," Archer said, his eyes fixed on the screen. "Get us into position. We'll need to be precise. No room for mistakes." Kingston nodded, expertly navigating the Titan through the debris field. The ship shuddered once more as the remaining thrusters strained against the damage. They had only moments before the enemy noticed their approach. "We're closing in," Kingston said. "I'm lining up for the strike. Hold on, this could get rough. All hands, brace for impact." Archer barked, his voice firm as he gripped the console. "This is it, everyone. We end this now." The Titan darted forward, its damaged hull making every movement a fight against gravity. The HFY flagship, with its towering structure and weapon systems primed, grew ever closer. The enemy ships around it started to react, but it was too late. The Titan had already broken through their defenses. "Firing now," Kingston called out. Archer felt a surge of energy as the Titan's auxiliary weapons unleashed a concentrated barrage aimed directly at the flagship's command center. The impact was devastating. The flagship's shields flared bright, then flickered and collapsed as the energy blast struck the ship's core. The explosion that followed was massive, lighting up the dark expanse of space like a starburst. For a moment, Archer thought they had done it. They had destroyed the heart of the HFY fleet. But just as quickly as the flagship faltered, the remaining enemy ships converged, their weapons charging for one final desperate retaliation. "Commander, the flagship is severely damaged, but not destroyed," EVE warned. "They're preparing a counterstrike." "We don't have time," Archer shouted, Kingston, get us out of here. We need to create a diversion, something to buy us time. The Titan jerked as Kingston pushed the remaining engines to their limits, dodging the incoming fire. But the enemy was relentless, and it seemed like every HFY ship had locked onto them, closing in like a swarm of angry wasps. Archer's mind raced. They needed something, anything, to turn the tide in their favor. Then he remembered something, a tactic that could buy them just enough time to escape. He had to gamble it all on one final move. EVE, can you initiate a false signal? Something that will confuse the enemy's targeting systems? Archer asked, his voice steady despite the chaos. Yes, Commander, EVE replied. I will project a decoy signal, but it will only last for a short time. It will give us enough time to escape, but I recommend we make our move quickly. Do it, Archer ordered. The Titan's systems hummed as EVE activated the decoy. A false signal was sent out, mimicking the Titan's location in multiple directions. The HFY fleet, unable to distinguish the real ship from the decoy, momentarily faltered, their targeting systems overloaded with conflicting signals. Now, Kingston, get us out of here, Archer commanded. Kingston slammed the controls, and the Titan shot forward, streaking through the chaos. The HFY ships, confused by the decoy, fired wildly, hitting nothing but empty space. For the first time in what felt like hours, Archer allowed himself a breath. The Titan surged forward, the distance between them, and the HFY growing with each passing second. The decoy had worked. They had escaped, at least for now. Commander, EVE's voice came through, quieter than before. The HFY flagship is retreating. They've been forced to regroup, and their forces are scattered. We have won, for now. Archer stared out into the vastness of space, his heart still pounding. The battle had been fierce, but humanity had proven its worth. The HFY had underestimated them, and that mistake would cost them dearly. We've bought ourselves some time, Archer said, his voice steady. But this war is far from over. The HFY will be back, and when they do, we'll be ready. The aftermath, and the road ahead. The Titan drifted in the silent void of space, its battered hull glowing faintly from the damage it had sustained. Archer stood at the command console, eyes scanning the emptiness ahead. Despite the tactical victory, a weight had settled in his chest, heavier than the burden of command. This was no longer about a single battle. The HFY had felt their power, but this was just the beginning. Commander, Kingston's voice broke the silence. The damage is extensive. We've lost several key systems. Navigation is barely functioning, and the weapons array is down to 40% capacity. We can't push the ship any harder than we already have. Archer exhaled slowly, glancing over to the officer. Kingston's grim expression was a reflection of the reality they now faced. How much time do we have before we need to find repairs? Realistically, about 48 hours, Kingston replied. We could stretch it longer, but we'd be sitting ducks if we don't make repairs. And the HFY will be coming for us. They'd know what we're capable of now. Archer turned toward the crew. They were exhausted, their faces showing signs of both physical and mental strain. They had been through hell together, and yet the war was far from over. They hadn't just fought for survival, they had fought for humanity's place in the galaxy. EVE, Archer said, his voice steady but laced with a hint of concern. Status report on the enemy fleet. EVE's calm voice filled the command deck. The HFY flagship has retreated, but their secondary forces are still intact. They are regrouping at a hidden location near the Nyx Nebula. Their forces are expected to return within the next 72 hours with reinforcements. Archer clenched his fists. We need to act first. If we give them time to regroup, we lose the advantage. Sir, Kingston interjected, we can't win this war in a single strike. Not like this. We need time to rest, regroup, and rebuild. Attacking them head-on now, in our condition, is suicide. Archer stared out into the endless stars, the weight of leadership pressing down on him. He knew Kingston was right. They couldn't risk a headlong charge when the Titan was barely holding together. But if they waited too long, the HFY Sci-Fi would be ready, and this fleeting advantage would slip through their fingers. "I'm not suggesting we attack now," Archer said, turning to Kingston, "but we can't wait for them to recover. We need to take the fight to them before they're ready to strike again." Archer's mind raced. The HFY Sci-Fi were relentless, but they also had their weaknesses. Every species did. Their overconfidence in their fleet had cost them dearly. They had assumed humanity was nothing more than an easy target. Now, they were realizing how wrong they had been. "Send out a covert team," Archer said suddenly, his decision coming swiftly. "We'll send a small group to the Nix Nebula to gather intel. If we can learn where they're hiding and what they're planning, we'll have the upper hand when they strike." "Sir, with all due respect, that's a dangerous mission," Kingston said. "The Nix Nebula is a graveyard. If we send a team in there, they may never come back." "I know," Archer said quietly, "but we don't have the luxury of waiting." Kingston met Archer's gaze, understanding the gravity of the decision. "Understood, Commander. We'll start preparing." The rest of the crew was silent, absorbing the orders that would send them into uncharted territory. They had fought in space, survived impossible odds, and pushed beyond the limits of their endurance. But this mission would test them like never before. The Nix Nebula was known for its black holes, strange gravitational anomalies, and dense radiation fields. It was a place where even the most advanced ships vanish without a trace. "Commander," EVE interjected, her voice steady, "I've been analyzing the HFY Sci-Fi transmissions. They're planning something big, something beyond just a simple counterattack. We believe they're preparing a fleet-wide assault on human territory. If they succeed, the war could be lost before it even begins." Archer looked up at the screen, where the nebulous darkness of the Nix Nebula flickered into view. "Then we have no choice. We'll go in, find their plan, and destroy it before they can execute it. Humanity's survival depends on it." The crew's resolve hardened. They had come so far. Defeating the HFY Sci-Fi flagship had proven their strength. But now the real battle was about to begin. They would have to do the impossible again, but they were ready. The road ahead was dangerous, but they had no other option. "Prepare the team," Archer said. "We leave in 2 hours." The Titan, despite its damage, had become more than just a warship. It was a symbol of humanity's unyielding will to survive. Even though their resources were dwindling and their enemies seemed endless, they were determined to fight for their future. The crew knew that this mission into the heart of the HFY Sci-Fi's plans would not just be a fight for survival, but a fight for humanity's place in the galaxy. The stakes had never been higher. As the crew prepared for the dangerous journey ahead, they had no illusions about what lay before them. The Nix Nebula was a death trap, but it was also their only chance to prevent a galactic-scale invasion. In this war, the cost of failure was too high to even consider. As the countdown began, Archer stood once more on the bridge, eyes fixed on the vast, empty space before them. The universe had watched as they had already defied the odds. Now, it would watch them do it again. "Let's make sure they know who we are," Archer said with finality.